I wouldn't have either though. Why would I share the same body and giving me a whole attitude as soon as the thing is the fuck it look like? And you're being mad at what? You're mad because Sharon keeps letting niggas win, but you can't say nothing to Sharon. Yeah, I get it. The dad was just little shit yesterday. Not my problem. Yeah, because he's too worky. He's too worky. But we all know she's not good. She really don't really know how Sharon is still. You know why this like
Look, babe. I want to. You good, babe. You good, you good, you good, you good, you good. I don't want to bother you. Damn, hang. You good, baby? I'm not talking. You good, you good.
no, I could bring it something to me. I'm trying to hear you it's like that. Yes, I can. Yeah, you're telling him already. Oh yeah, you're saying that you haven't told me. Attitude type shit. I bet. Nonchalant too. Right. Yeah. Oh, what I need to do. Oh, I want to do that. Maybe I teach you I'll be like, I get on the game, right? For number six.
This further conceals his identity by dressing up as a bedsheet ghost, which, I mean, if he wanted to pretend to be Bob in order to trick Linda, he's already in a costume. He's rocking the mask and ghost suit.
Yeah.
But I guess the bedsheet ghost maybe does a better job of concealing his physique because he's much more physically imposing than Bob. Putting Bob's glasses and the ghost costume is enough to convince Linda that that's her boyfriend. And when she turns her back to him, Lori, he strangles her with a phone. With all three of Lori's friends across the street on the mission, Michael turned out the last remaining lights of the house, much like how the cemetery went through before he took out his film picture of Nancy and Michael himself.
Crazy.
He energizes the body of Annie, who he upstairs bounces on her drink with tombstone as a tribute to his first lover of town, and waits for his younger sister to sleep. The bed stuff in the closet, and Bob is hung up in the closet with the rope that he stole earlier. Good plan. After discovering this, Lori stumbles out of the room in a mess of emotion, and Michael emerges from the darkness.
I was gonna say you can get it tomorrow. If I have to go tomorrow, it's Friday.
She chases back across the street and tries to defend herself by sticking a knitting needle through his neck.
Tomorrow's Friday. Oh, today's Friday. My bad.
Watching this video, you probably already
Leave me
know
alone.
Michael Myers is invincible. This is a result of the powers he
My
acquired by being
days,
cursed
my
by the
days
ancient
go
demon.
busting
But
confused.
at the same time, he isn't just an unstoppable machine. Hurting him enough will put him down for short periods of time, which I refer to as his
Isaac cut his hair.
It's back to he follows Lori back up the stairs and finds her tending to the kids.
I saw it for like a split second.
He
You
finds her
cut your
naked,
hair?
and busts through. Lights on? No. Lights on. Lori resourcefully pokes out his eye with a coat hanger, which lets him down long enough for her to get out of the room and get the kids out of the house. Michael gets a quick out workout in, and then comes for her once.
Oh my god.
She completely shocks him for her. This is one of the few times that we see his face as an adult, and he looks shocked. Almost like the mask is such an important part of this ritual that he can't believe that she's removed it. As he puts it back on, he's shocked by someone in the
I can't believe you cut
Turned
it.
out to be his old psychiatrist, Dr. He's one of those
Oh my god.
but as always, Michael's element is only time to listen to police the scene to
Yeah, I'll go down there.
alley as the police close in about it. And just to make sure the night works, I guess, he breaks into the house of their neighbor, Alice, and successfully tests it out. I could try to dissect why the Alvarez got to live and Alice did, but I think it's better known as what makes this
Grounded, you
information
go.
scary for audiences is his unpredictability. You don't really know when he's going to screw. This must be when Michael broke into his old elementary school and left this clue that would later be
That's what I'm saying.
It's a childlike drawing of a family of Halloween, potentially Michael's family.
You think I got $80 to spend again?
There seems to be
$120 to spend again?
represents Judith, meaning that this girl today most likely represents Lily. And this answers one of her questions. Initially, it was sincere. She knew that Lori was his older sister when he first spotted her in the Myers movie. I speculated that he maybe went after her because he was simply upset that she was still in his childhood and being a real secret. So this drawing, if I'm interpreting it correctly, which will certainly be up for debate, would prove that he did know about Lori and he was targeting her specifically when he was came towards his house so that he had back launched the drawing for her as a tribute.
Just to watch that to everything when you get home.
May have already been there to the arrive, but it's also possible that it's noted when seeing his house as strong as and the dates of each of Michael's houses is determined by the obtainment of the planets. At this point, news the killer had failed to spreading the gun, which in time sense is amazing. And Michael overhears from Lori is being taken to this house.
Right. Yeah. What's that say? Exactly.
Actually isolating straight out of the 7 and a whole year inside of it's one by one. It takes out each of the staff members of the house and taking care of each just like the security
Yeah.
members and nothing is talking about burning to get the house. And she has an explosion. I think After doing so, the springs at the end of the bath to overlook the real thing is span rated for the ratio of it is most useful in everything slow and it's more gentle, slow, and the change, the playful, slow, the game playful, slow, the change,
Right.
things are eventually used to right now, as much as anything something unbreakable. All of the aesthetics and ideas, I know, is getting
Oh, this is yeah, what it was. Yeah, like bitch, I didn't know you were from the end of the turn. Yeah, but you told Lissandro. Words, like I'm not taking a chance. Right.
Remember how Michael used a ghost costume pretending to be Bob in order to get close to Linda earlier that evening?
Yeah, because one she was probably caught off guard, like, oh wait, she got this face. Like, yeah, bitch, I'm like, I have to work with you. Seriously, I'm your whole manager. I have to, like, the fuck?
They say that burning and drowning are the two most painful ways to die, and this is a combination of both. In fact, if you look at the top 10, which is a website that
Not
lists
talking.
things, people agree that burning to death and drowning would be the two worst.
Like, if I say something to you, you gotta have to. Ain't nobody doing that.
Estimated in the school was still mild, but
Right.
on top of that, I can only imagine the story shared that Terry Thomas because she thought she was in the safe room type of afterwards, like, right? And she turns around to realize that actually this terrible kind of accident. She's also not dressed, so I was police the equation is this is just not your ideal way to spend it.
Sitting like fucking neighbor.
And the next person is when was most likely Nurse Virginia Adams. Like, we were just explaining the surgery.
Exactly.
The guys have to know already.
Well, I go back to sleep.
She's the one that moves slowly phrase as a place out of hearing continues to the office of Dr. Frederick Mixer prescribes him with 20 cc's of medication injected directly in his brain. Then, when Nurse Janet Marshall comes to check on him, Michael hears on the Jack's full vessel under temple with an air-filled syringe, which essentially degrades the air bubble in your bloodstream and stops the flow of brain, which is usually it seems it's very straightforward and methodical way of going about things. It doesn't hold them back from getting creative.
I gotta get some less than an hour before you start
Staff that
scrolling.
regularly walk the corridors of the main lobby, either dead or trying to find help. Michael has free reins. He'll walk his way right into Lori's room on the test. Now armed with a surgical skill, he sees his
I'm
target
going back to
and
sleep.
lunches due to the medication that she's on and decides to get
Yeah.
when he realizes she's not there, he loses the security button.
Yeah, I'll be up by like
Heads in her
10
direction,
o'clock.
but first he comes across a
I wanna
conversation between
I
the
wanna
last two remaining months of performance. The nurse named Jill Franco and an ambulance attendant named Jim. The Ingredient Jimmy instructs her to drive to the sheriff's station for help. She doesn't
Yeah, I
find
know.
anyone in
All
these
these
things.
places.
While she's searching the other side of the building, Michael goes out to the
All I know is Thanksgiving, my little side, I'm gonna bring a little side plate, my nigga. It's not even gonna be a plate. Yes, that's all.
So hard that he's able to lift her off the ground with a small plate holding up her entire
So,
This is where
I'm dead ass bringing my own little pan.
in addition to being a
It's gonna be a small pan. It's gonna be a small pan. It's gonna be small. It's gonna be. You see the size of your pan that you got the sliders in, something like that, but smaller. You know how like, they make the little sliders? You know, that your tuna salad is going in there. I think you're gonna have to make
Chambers
chicken
trying to
salad
protect
too.
his old psychiatrist is armed and shoots him 5 more times, bringing the grand total to 11. As may seem to be the case whenever Michael is attacked, he collapses temporarily, but cannot die. The state marshal that came Dr. Loomis goes in for a close look, stupidly assuming that Michael is not breathing, and Michael springs to life and splits the room. Lewis and Lori retreats to another on-grid. So Michael busts down 942, bringing him within striking distance of his doctor. Lewis is gun jams, and Michael takes the opportunity to stop him. Speaking of Lori, she fires a couple shots to him, which apparently lands just above his eyes, I guess, judging by the fact that the mask doesn't have any bullets. The drip down from his wounds temporarily blinds him,
Why?
rather than just using his hearing to try to locate her. He just kind of flails around the room in the general direction where he thinks that she might be pursuing. Lori is audibly whimpering too, so it should have been committed easily. Not one of Michael's minor rules.
But if you do turkey, there's no point in
Except
putting
for the
two
gas
full
station
chicken.
where Loomis ran for the room. Before long, the sound
For all that, you might as well just do the vanilla and chicken.
This is easily the biggest honest
Yeah, it makes no sense.
with the mechanics of its invincibility and recharge period still mostly a mystery.
I mean, it's the same as where for your meat, except you just have to do it apart.
Because he knew he was so close to finishing the system. But able to force himself to give one of the longer before closing, as he had considering would be middle close the panels. So Lori's absolute. Michael actually walks out of the place, literally covered in burning flames. Finally, his body can take him no further, and he falls face forward, where he would continue to burn his fire before he arrived at this time he would and one as he would spend the next 10 years in his comatose state. So this time, instead of being taken back to Smithsburg, Michael was locked up in a higher security facility known as Great Continental Cemetery. Despite being a vegetable for the first day, he gained a reputation for being the devil himself, and even the guards were afraid of him. As for the room that is haunted,
This is little chicken. This is
after
little
10
chicken
years
and
of being in a
pumpkin.
coma, it doesn't look like Michael is ever going to come home. And it was decided that he should be moved back to Smith's room to open up space for other more friendly patients. Dr. Loomis is still Michael's doctor during this time, though it's said that the decision is more ceremonial. Many of the day-to-day decisions fall under the Ridgemont Medical Administrator, Dr. Hoffman. Michael was to be transferred on October 30th, 1980, to one day shy of the 10-year anniversary of the rampage. Extra precautions are taken to ensure smooth operation. However, disaster strikes when the ride to Smith's room doesn't quite go as planned.
Hollywood.
During Michael Myers' original stay at Smithsburg Cemetery, it was assumed to be relatively harmless as before time passed. It was relatively catatonic, and only Dr. Loomis was able to see through him and to understand that the patient was still dangerous. It seems that Michael employed a similar tactic at Ridgemont, because Paul's assumed that he's still comatose during his patient transfer. He is secretly awake and conscious to hear the transfer personnel discussing his living relatives. No one say anything about living relatives. Clearly, Michael is sentient during this ambulance. Say for sure how long he's been with before this, but given who he drank most of the cemetery staff as a kid, I wouldn't be surprised if he was making his coma for the last few years. The information about who he is also important because of the person. Even if
It's out
Ray
now.
wasn't around anymore, he still has to take out the rest of his family in order to spare the community at large. Once he hears, maybe it's the year, Myers breaks free and demonstrates his unbelievable strength by shoving his thumb through the man's forehead into his skull. They make it just south of Mill Creek, about 4 hours outside of Haddonfield before the ambulance crashes, probably the result of Michael attacking the driver. The exit flipped over in a river from Louisiana, but that wasn't even the end of the suffering for at least one of the passengers. We can actually see carnage smeared all over the outside of the vehicle, which would suggest that one of the transport personnel actually survived and may have tried to escape the crash subsequently to be brought back in and put in with the damages. Since his signature mask had no silver and no underwear in 1978,
What?
Michael feels the need to get back
I
in costume
bet. Yeah, they're about to create the holiday shirts. The Christmas shirts.
To help the mechanic and take his job set. He ends up hanging the guy up in chains for the necklace to
Yeah, the HBO never has them.
spectacle of his victims, whether that be the Joanna babysitters or the
Yeah. With those licenses.
This, like many of his actions, make him back. Perhaps Mike needs to show off his work to gain favor with the ancient or maybe he just does this to intimidate the survivors as much as possible because he enjoys it. So he used to a small diner attached to the garage and refused the waitress for a gift. By the looks of it, this one died of strangulation. You don't like the service, you don't have to leave it in, but then he also destroys it for himself. The tactic that worked well to buy himself. Spaces.
Maverick, stay on your man, so cause my arrow keep fucking up. Stay on blue. I'ma stay on shirtless. Yo, Mace, come on, bro. I need that paint cleared, my nigga. Go on the outlet. You feel me? You gonna eat, my nigga. You gonna eat. Just hold me down. I'ma hold you down, my nigga. Just fake, stay out my way type shit. Bloody, for real, for real. I need you to stay on one nigga, my nigga. There's no need. Yo, bro, can you stay on your man, bro? I don't need you down there, bro. That's easy licks. That's easy licks for them. Shirtless, pull up. That's easy licks for them, my nigga. Like, fuck is you doing, bro? I said shirtless, pull up, so the play could go in more. Come on, bro. Analog stick, no need to jump. Analog stick, it's gonna be a block or a steal. Analog stick, no need to jump. What? Nigga, I said analog stick. You good, nigga? You good, Wody? Trust me, my nigga. Analog stick, my nigga.
Later still, he returns home, more timid. Jumps in the shower afterwards and asks Beth if I can smell.
You gotta press that. You gotta press that, Jersey. You gotta press that.
On his wrist, so Michael gives him the old throat slash when he gets out and proceeds to stab Beth in a theatrical cut. The edit is
Good shit, good shit, good shit, good shit, good shit, good shit. Good shit, good shit, good shit. Good shit. Good fucking shit.
not just Leah's John and Deborah's daughter, Carrie, but Danny is the last two inhabitants of the house. Kira manages to have her and knock Michael to the snake.
They gonna use AI for extra pass. Just watch him on the three. Just watch him on the three. He's just an extra pass nigga. I know. I had to step up, God. My fault, God. I had to step up. I already seen it.
So Michael was instructed to return.
No jumping. Oh, AI with the block. My son terminated me. I know, but it came off. I was good.
Fresh flame to lean by fish. But did you know that there's a YouTube music?
Watch the cut.
Listen to the computer version.
We here.
And of course, the original version. If you the music premium.
You know that. Come on, Maverick. Come on, we were in the same varsity.
The last
They picked
first.
good switch.
First days of the year as it is because
Swing it up. I hear that. I got fake. I got last shot.
Who's been named Steven Strode and Kira
I earned it. I got last shot. I got like 14 seconds, nigga. Fuck you.
But I think the plan is to kill the baby, lift the curse of Thorn from Michael, and give them the opportunity to place it on Dan. That would explain why he's been hearing the voices in his head, just like the six.
No, wait, Shirley, back up. No.
Yes.
No, Shirley, no. Nah. Dan. I wanted Shirley to get it, and I wanted to play block at the rim. You feel me? For the last point, you feel me? Good shit. See, this is GG's, my nigga. You feel me? You take a proud loss, my nigga. You feel me? Nigga still wet up. You feel me, Maverick? Come on, Wody. You gotta step it up. This other nigga, Mace, you gotta step it up.
You work in medicine and Hatfield, just take the day off. Serious.
I hear that. Victory meal. Enjoy. GG's.
He suggested that he was just tired of obeying the comments. I think that makes no sense.
Yeah. Facts. I bet.
I see it as more of a cage bear situation. While Michael is possessed by Thorn, he's essentially like a wild animal. Anyone who gets too close is in danger and being killed. That's just his nature. He doesn't have any real
killing two
but he does
kids. I
have the goal
bet.
of killing off his next of kin. saying that he's incapable of thinking for himself. I mean, we see him sneak up on people and make reactionary decisions throughout the series. I'm just saying that if he has the chance to kill, he's probably going to. During this massacre, one of the medics escapes out into the hall, and that's when he sees Tommy and Kara trying to flee with the two young kids. This is the first time in a while that Michael is really close to completing his main task, that is wiping out the plotline, so we see him actually walking faster than he's ever walked before. Tommy closes up this gate in order to create a barrier between them and Michael, which totally screws over this medic for no reason. Michael bashes the guy's face into the bars and then just knocks down the gate anyways. Having spent 15 years there, this is kind of like Michael's home turf, so he's able to take some kind of shortcut to cut them off. They knock into a random lab filled with human embryos or babies growing in tables. Some think that this means Jamie was artificially inseminated to have Steven. Others believe that this was a setup for a 7th Halloween film that never happened. I don't think either of those makes that much sense, because these embryos are clearly growing into babies outside of the body. I mean, this isn't a typical IVF lab, and this lab scene was actually added for the theatrical cut after the death of Donald Pleasance, who plays Loomis. It would have been an excellent opportunity to tie up any loose threads, not cast new ones. Feel free to share your own interpretations, though. Michael punches through the door to get access to the lab, and Tommy seems to concede it and offers up the baby. But of course, it's just an empty bundle of blankets. Tommy stabs 4 syringes into him, and then Kara hits him with a pipe over and over. He pins her to a lab table and chokes her, but he lets her go after Danny yells out and gives away his position. Michael realizes that Danny has the baby and attempts to seize him, but Tommy drugs him one last time, giving Kara and the kids a chance to make a run for it. Then Tommy beats him up with a pipe, Dr. Loomis style. Yeah, he's a little too proud of himself. And believe it or not, that is the last we ever see of the original iteration of Michael Myers. The theatrical cut ends with a suggestion of some kind of confrontation between Michael and Loomis, where Loomis managed to get his mask off, but judging by this sound, I am led to believe that Michael ultimately got the upper hand. The original continuity ended with a whimper in terms of box office revenue. 4, 5, and 6 represent 3 of the 4 lowest grossing Halloween movies as of 2021. I don't really care about that. But from a horror perspective, it makes sense why the series was falling out of favor. The Cult of Thorns storyline gives an explanation to Michael Myers' creepy and unpredictable behavior, and in a way, that demystifies the character. For years I've been convinced there must be some reasoning, some method behind Michael's madness. But at the same time, and as we've seen in this video, there is still a lot to speculate about. I think back to the sheer look of confusion when Laurie removes Michael's mask in 1978. Michael operates at his highest potential when he, the mysteries of his character, and his true intentions are properly balanced. Click that playlist on the left. My entire catalog of Halloween franchise horror history episodes. If you love horror and all things Halloween, remember to subscribe to CZ's World for new horrors every week. Ring the death bell and select all notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Assuming the planets align. If you want to know more about Jigsaw's backstory, like the details only included in the comic, and if you want to see the full chronology of what I think is the only accurate timeline of the events of John Kramer's life on the internet, then stick around to the end of this video. Many of my favorite horror villains are not monsters in the typical sense of having a scary appearance or intimidating demeanor, but instead project more of a psychological horror, oftentimes brought on by a distorted sense of how they see the world. Many of the best antagonists or anti-heroes are scary to me because they actually believe that they're doing the world a service with their misdeeds. And the agent of the events that we've come to know as the Saw franchise is a model example of this chilling behavior. Welcome to Horror History. My name is Very Fucking Confused.
My name is Very Fucking Confused. What's your name?
In today's lesson, I'll be analyzing the man responsible for years of citywide panic, a slew of impersonators, the cult of nefarious followers, a massive federal investigation, and most significantly, the deaths of at least 57 victims. I am, of course, referring to the Jigsaw Killer, John Kramer, most commonly known by the nickname Jigsaw, which was originally derived from his practice of cutting jigsaw pieces from the flesh of his failed victims as a symbol for the missing piece of their survival instinct. In this video, we're going to look at Jigsaw's entire life and put together those pieces. And as with any puzzle, the best way to start is by figuring out the adjacent pieces, the corner pieces, such as John Kramer's past. We'll also explore the mysteries of his background, the development of his psychopathy, the imposition of a god complex with the religious parallels in his work, and finally, the realization of his ultimate failure. So in order to understand how the puzzle that is John Kramer was built, let's take it all the way back to his birth. John Kramer was born in the year 1954, a fact we're able to derive from the mention of his age at the time of death.
The subject's name is John Kramer, a 52-year-old male Caucasian.
So he was only in his early 50s during the Saw movies. Yikes. The capital of yikes. Like, the whole thing is capital. John's work consisted of a company he founded called the Urban Renewal. But despite how it sounds, it had nothing to do with mid-2000s hip-hop. John was a civil engineer who worked alongside a lawyer named Art Blank to build homes for low-income families and also sometimes created other buildings with the intent of helping people. John was extremely intelligent, making him a world-class engineer, but he was also great at understanding people and anticipating their actions, which made him quite successful on the business end as well. He was quickly able to scale Urban Renewal Group to the point that he owned several buildings throughout the city, and he had a fair amount of resources, which he channeled back into helping the people of that city. The desire to help and improve people's lives was the first key moments to understand his motivation, because it was this that drove his actions throughout his entire life. I would also speculate that it was the reason he fell in love with the woman that would become his wife, Jill Tuck, the doctor who ran a recovery center for drug addicts known as Homeward Bound Clinic. The clinic's motto was "Cherish Your Life," a phrase that John would also associate with his own work. John and Jill's love eventually led to marriage and plans to have a first child. Like in his work, John meticulously planned all aspects of his life, and the baby was no exception. The child's name, Gideon, was also the name of his first building, the Gideon Meatpacking Plant, and may have drawn from the Hebrew name Gedam, which meant hero or judge, showing us John's subconscious desire to judge people for their sins. The baby's planned date of birth was in 1995, the Chinese Year of the Pig, which was a symbol of rebirth, a concept that John believed heavily in. The name Gideon and the pig symbol would have greater meaning later in John's story, but for now, he was focused on tending to his pregnant wife. He would wait for her to get done with work some days, and he noticed some shady characters who were patients at the clinic. One evening, he has to intervene when a fight nearly breaks out between two addicts named Cecil Adams and Gus Collier, and John had to convince Cecil to put his knife away before things got much worse. This causes John to wonder how effective his wife's rehabilitation methods really are, but he still encourages her work, something he would come to regret later down the line. He also displays evidence that he's become more jaded towards the world when he meets an insurance mogul named William Easton, who sponsors a party at Jill's clinic. They seem to connect over their mutual need to predict human behavior in their respective jobs, but John disagrees with William's methods of trying to screen people and determine their probability of illness before giving them insurance coverage.
Should you not take into consideration
This exchange would be another important puzzle piece in crafting the jigsaw scene, because John believed that he was giving each of his victims a chance to survive by putting them through adversity. As Gideon's due date got closer though, John continued to prepare for the birth of his son by constructing a crib, a children's toy that resembled a ventriloquist doll, which he would then fill with a puppet, and by creating a home video for the boy during an ultrasound. Again, we can pull a couple puzzle pieces from John's preparation to be a father. The messages he meant to save for his son were to be passed via videotape, and he would eventually use this medium to speak to his test subjects, while the puppet would be reimagined as the face of Jigsaw, an avatar that appeared in some of the tapes who would sometimes make physical appearances to carry out messages to his victims. Unfortunately, before John ever got to meet his son Gideon, tragedy would strike on one fateful moment. One evening in late 1994, John warms up the car while his pregnant wife lifts up the clinic and notices a distressed Cecil Adams burst out of the movement. He immediately knows something's wrong and goes in to find Jill collapsed on the floor after having been hit by the swinging door when Cecil had broken in. Jill was 7 months pregnant at this point, so fearing for the baby's safety, he rushes her to a hospital. John suffers a long evening of emotional suffering, and Jill is shell-shocked after doctors are unable to save the baby. This is the beginning of John's descent, his downward spiral, if you will, into becoming a psychopath. The most common characteristic of a psycho is lack of empathy for their victims or remorse for their actions, and we see the very beginning of this right after the loss of Gideon, when John changes his attitude toward the drug addicts that he previously encouraged the idea of helping.
all I wanted to do was help them?
You can't help them. They have done themselves.
Trauma-induced psychopathy is one of the 3 major ways known to develop the condition, and for John, Losing the son he had already committed so much devotion to was the distressing catalyst that set things into motion. We see how much it affected him by the fact that he buried Gideon and marked the spot of the tombstone, a practice not normally used for a miscarriage. Even those closest to him, like his wife and his business partner, were not in contact with him, which worried them. They decided to get together to confront him and find him sleeping in a chair at his workshop in Gideon meatpacking plant. He's very unwelcoming towards them, showing no desire to return to his normal life. Art encourages him to channel his negative energy into their urban renewal project, where his designs would have been used to help low-income families. But he forfeits his shares in the company to Jill and angrily tells them to get out. He had accomplished many things at this point in his life, but none of them had been enough to save his family from the unpredictable crimes of a drug addict. And in his depressed mindset, he forced himself to come up with a solution to people like Cecil. It was the only way he knew how to cope with the loss. He would use the concept of they have to help themselves in his work, and in his deranged state, he figured the first person he should give that opportunity to was his son's killer. He tracks down Cecil during a celebration of the Chinese New Year, which, knowing John, was likely the planned due date of Gideon. To disguise himself, he steals a pig mask. Remember, it was the year of the pig. I'm just glad he upgraded to something a little bit more spooky later on, because if I saw my kidnapper wearing this, I'd probably just start losing it. Like, what are you gonna do? Force me to star in children's daytime television programming? Actually, that does sound horrifying. But another reason it makes sense for him to use the pig mask was that the pig in the Chinese zodiac represented rebirth, and he viewed his games as a chance for victims to be reborn as better people. He chloroformed Cecil, who next awakens in John's workshop.
Shoot! You did this to me. You did this to yourself.
Yeah, come on, Cecil, you did this. It was all you, buddy. He's delusional. Cecil is trapped in the knife chair. John claims it was a tool to reclaim his life. If he can press his face through a barrier of 8 knives and press a lever on the other side, his restraints will be released. John thinks this is fitting because it will make Cecil's face ugly to match his greedy soul. Cecil is able to release himself from the chair, but this is not enough to rehabilitate him. He tries to attack John, who sidesteps and sends him tumbling into the razor wire trap. In this one, he's unable to escape. John may have told himself that letting Cecil die after giving him a second chance was a good thing, that Cecil was unable to be rehabilitated, and so killing him was just. Another trait of a psychopath is the need for repeated stimulation. Because John felt that he was doing Cecil a favor by putting him through his test, he soon had the desire to help more people, and began to create more complex traps in his workshop. But John's good intentions would not be enough to make future traps fair or just, and before long, police would recognize Kramer's actions as the work of a serial killer.
Newspapers started calling it the Jigsaw Killer.
Hoping to do something about the decline of her marriage after losing the baby she was carrying, Jill decided to try to talk to John and give him one more chance, so she goes back into the workshop. Before finding her husband, she discovers reconnaissance photos of Cecil Adams. Cecil was believed to be missing, and Jill wondered if John had anything to do with it. He finds her snooping around and becomes very angry with her, telling her not to ever come back, effectively the end of their relationship, and another sign of psychopathic behavior, impulsivity. They would get divorced not long after. After Jill leaves, he goes back to work on another trap, the glass coffin. This box would allow the user to be transported out of a collapsing room and brought to safety. John wouldn't survive long enough to use this trap himself. Instead, it would be used years later by his successor. But the fact that he was working on it way back in the 90s is a testament to John's intelligence and ability to predict possible outcomes, one of the things that makes him so dangerous as a serial killer. Despite his impressive intellect, his physical condition was about to worsen, as John was diagnosed with colon cancer not long after the divorce. Between the divorce and the cancer diagnosis, this was 2 straight tragedies for John. The cancer got to him while he was already at the lowest of low points, and as a result, he decided to end his life. He decides to do this Groundhog Day style by driving his car off a cliff, but miraculously, he survives the wreck. As he's lying there in a smoking mess, he realizes that he wants to live, and in order to do so, he must endure a little more pain by pulling a stake out of himself to escape. Not only was this a revelation for John, in that he got to experience
I'm not even entertaining niggas.